Hey there, folks. Fdot here alongside my buddy Adonis, who can't stop fiddling with anything on the desk. Anyway, it's Thursday, and it's week 6.
It's week 6, and it's starting to become crunch time. 2 weeks left until the summer land has qualified, and not a single person has actually qualified yet.
Yeah, it's still up in the air right now. Let's take a look at the schedule real quick to see what we're going to be looking at today and the rest of the weekend. We're going to start off right now with Epsilon versus the Night's Watch, and then the North American game for today will be Eager versus Legion of Carrots.
Yep, but first up is that Epsilon versus Night's Watch match, and no one from Europe has qualified. It's actually a very close race, and Epsilon, with the loss of IRAFer, they're set up 5-5 on the standings right now. It's not in their hands to qualify. They need other people to lose, but they do need to come up with 2 big wins against Night's Watch today.
Yeah, Night's Watch right now, they have yet to find a win. Recently, they have restructured their team just a little bit. They have a new jungler. Replacing Zindern will be Ninja Bobat, and they have a new solo laner who should be not new to anybody's ears. Game Hunter has taken over the reins from NQ.
The first player to get a pentakill in competitive play. Since then, only one, and I'm actually surprised because there's been a lot of close ones. We know famously now Ataraxia has stolen a pentakill away from someone. But I think Bobat and Game Hunter looked really good when they replaced their counterparts this past week.
Exactly. I think this is the story of similar to last season when we saw upcoming stars play around with their roster a little bit. They still didn't win a game, but they looked a lot better. That was the story last week. Night's Watch looked a lot better with a different jungler and a different soul lane. Unable to quite pull out the win, but this week might be a little bit different.
It could be, but I do want to talk about Epsilon, though, because they lost IRAFer. They brought in a player last week. It was their coach, Solana, who performed okay. He didn't perform bad, but their dual lane was obviously abused. I mean, that should be it. You're going against a player who wasn't supposed to sub but had to the last couple days, and now I'm pretty sure they're going forward with Flurry Q today. I'm not sure. That's who their sub what they wanted to bring in.
Exactly.
But they wanted to bring him in that morning, and they weren't able to do it.
Wasn't quite allowed. We talked a little bit about it on Tuesday on the show, but the case remains that this time around might be a little bit different of a substitute this time around. Epsilon, though, has repeatedly done well in different positions outside of that dual lane. So it might be a little bump in the road as far as communication and cohesiveness is concerned, but the core of the team is still intact, so it should be an interesting show.
Yeah, and Community, we're going to go over the picks real quick. Community picked Epsilon, so even with IRAFer being replaced, I mean, they're still Night's Watch is still sitting at 0-10, and it's very hard to overcome that. And while they looked very good yesterday last week against Titan, game 1 was very competitive. They're not there yet, and it's obvious.
I agree. So my personal pick is going to be Epsilon as well. I really feel that Epsilon is a strong team, and despite the misstep of IRAFer, that they're probably just going to come out of the gate swinging against this one. Night's Watch needs a little bit more time in the incubator to really hatch out to be the team that they are on paper. So I think they need a little bit more time. So this one, Epsilon.
Yeah, I picked the same one. I picked Epsilon, and everyone else, they picked Epsilon as well. Night's Watch, while they look good, now's really their 2 weeks to prepare for relegations, because they are actually, I forgot to mention, they are the only team who is 100% in relegations between both North America and Europe right now. So now it's a time for them to experiment and really try and find their foothold before those matches come up.
Exactly, that's what it is. It's time to just get ready and look towards the Challenger Cup teams, which will pose a threat. You've got the Poppies up there that are swinging and swinging since last relegations. And this is really the story and kind of exciting how we have the Challenger Cup. 2 splits ago, it really was all about Epsilon owning it, and now Epsilon are in the SPL. Now the Poppies are really owning it. Will they be able to make it to the SPL, or will the Night's Watch or their opponent really topple them? So that's interesting stuff going on in Europe, and that's pretty much the storyline as far as those standings are concerned. North America, a little bit different. We'll take a look at the scene right now, and 9-1 Cloud9 is sitting up on top, but we're focusing at the middle of the pack. 4-6 for Team Eager, 3-7 for Legion of Carrots.
So neither Team Eager or Legion of Carrots can qualify for LAN, but they are still avoiding relegations. And COG is very close to them. COG has to face TSM this week, so it's going to be rough for them. But if they can eke out a win, then Eager and Legion of Carrots, both of these teams need a win today to try and put some space in between that.
Which is exciting because I think both of these teams have what it takes. We'll take a look at what Eager is bringing to the table today and what their roster really looks like right now. Pretty standard across the board. Is that Pecky's?
We didn't even plan that. We did not even plan that. Polar Bear Mike looks very much like a production member we know, Pecky's, but you know, Eager, they're coming off a win against Cloud9. They are feeling themselves right now. They performed very well. And it was a game 1, too. It wasn't like it was a game 2 where they like adjusted to Cloud9 strategy. They came out and they beat Cloud9 game 1.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really been the conversation here. We talked publicly, post-game interviews, and even myself privately with some of the guys, and Team Eager just seems to be really working on all cylinders. They understand that the season had started off a little slow, but this is a very confident team, and I think going forward that they are going to be feeling just as confident, pretty much as they should be. They've got that new support, Polar Bear Mike.
Yeah, and Polar Bear Mike, he really surprised me because he's had to go against some tough competition his past 2 matches, and to come out in his second week on this new team and win against Cloud9. Polar Bear Mike came from Challengers Cup. He played for Hi-Fi with Nantan, El Chapu, and a lot of very solid players there, and he made the transition very quickly, and it just seems to be a lane that's working with Zapman. Eager looks very good. They can't qualify for LAN anymore. They can avoid relegations, though.
That's the key.
And really, fall split is where you need to look out for this team.
We've been talking a lot about Eager right now, but they're going up against a very, very equally talented team in Legion of Karas. We'll take a look at the roster for that team right there. They're pretty much led by, normally I would say DJ Pernicus, but Aduro has really been the guy to look at this split.
And Payne Devion, too, has been playing fantastically. They lost last week in a match that, how long did it go? 55?
55.
And he was had 34 assists out of his 36 team kills.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all across the board, these players have been performing. And I don't know if Wellplad's playing today. I know they've been cycling through solo laners trying to find that. And I think that actually may be their biggest problem right now is they haven't found a solo laner that they're super comfortable with. I know they got a couple subs and they're cycling through that. So it'll be interesting to see who they're going to come out and play with today.
Yeah, this is a team that, for all intents and purposes, should be very, very strong. Their win-loss record sort of defies that mindset, similar to how Eager was before last week, taking down the undefeated Cloud9. Let's just get right to the picks, Kevin. We'll see what the community picked. I'm actually very curious about this one myself.
I'm assuming it's Eager.
Eager's the fan favorite these days, but as far as the numbers are concerned, I don't really know, and it is going to be Eager.
It's Lassus. It's Lassus and Zapman. I mean, everyone loves them. They picked Eager. I'm actually interested on who everyone else picked because I feel like this is going to be a pretty close matchup.
Yeah, this is for sure going to be a really close matchup, and I picked the unsafe, safe 50-50.
You picked 50-50.
I did.
I actually picked 50-50 as well. Because
which way did you go?
I went Legion takes game 1.
All right, me too.
And Eager takes game 2.
So I went Legion takes game 1. I'll give you my spiel because Legion, similar to Eager last week, Legion can really come out of the gates just swinging. They're very, very strong. As you mentioned, Payne Devion had one of the best performances of a Garden we've seen pretty much all split. So I think they're feeling really good about their almost win, and they're going to make that into a win. Following up in game 2, I think that Eager will just happen to adjust a little bit better and take the game 2. So that's why I chose a split.
I actually chose pretty much the exact same way. Legion right now, they're riding very strong. Off of, I mean, technically both teams are riding very strong off wins.
Exactly.
But Legion, they barely missed out on winning last week, and I think they're going to come out swinging this week. And they actually play very similar team comps, I would have to say. Both love the Guardian junglers. Both love, not so much Kabrakan on Eager's team, but they love the Guardian junglers. They like the Ymir, the Athena, and they both bring a very protective jungle role to really get their mid laners fed.
Yeah, it's less about the assassination from Dare to Care and DJ Pernicus and more about the teamwork and the team play, which is why that solo lane has been such an Achilles heel for Legion going forward, because the way the jungle works from DJ kind of needs a solo lane to really be a concrete for them.
And I don't really think that their solo laners have performed poorly. I just think it's a lack of synergy because they're not playing with the same roster every week.
Exactly, and both of these teams have been really strong in all of the places besides the solo lane. For Legion this week, they have somebody a little bit more consistent. I think they're going to be following up with their previous one, and Anatoly had a fantastic performance. So both of these teams who have had issues in the solo lane, sort of moving past those issues in the solo lane, should be an exciting matchup. I mean, this is the match I've been looking for week 6.
Yeah, but it seems a little bit split there. Where do you think both these teams are going to avoid relegations?
I do think both of these teams are going to avoid relegations. As far as North America is concerned, I really think it's a story of enemy esports and cognitive gaming. I don't really see much coming out of them, whereas I see Eager and Legion sort of rise and rise and rise. Whether or not they're going to be number 1 teams next split, I don't know about that much, but I think they can avoid the bottom.
I think the most important thing is that Eager and Legion have challenged AFK, TSM, and C9 all on separate occasions.
Right.
Now, it's normally one game they get beat pretty hard.
Sure.
But there's always one game where it goes 40, 50, 55 as in last week plus minutes, and that's really what it's going to come down to, is them being able to transfer these really long games into wins. And I think that comes down to they haven't really played late game as much as these these top teams have historically. They've been in the scene. The other teams have been in the scene since season 1 and even before that, with very few roster changes. Look at TSM and look at COG. They have the same rosters, or excuse me, Cloud9. They have the same rosters from last season.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of been the way to find victory for these teams, is to get a consistent roster and practice with it, because there are tips and tricks that you can only do when your players and fans and friends are relying on you right there. So when you're mixing and matching, it's a little tough.
Yep, but I think it's time for the SPL, Tom.
Oh, is it? I haven't been wearing my watch lately because I got this Fleek polo, but that is going to be it for the pregame show. Adonis, it's been fun, but I'll catch you later. We'll get back to the games right now.